Admiral Eun-G Park stood at the massive viewport of Lunar Station Alpha, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. Her dark uniform bore the insignia of Earth's United Defense Force, a symbol that had meant something once. Now, as she watched the sleek alien vessels depart Earth's orbit, she wondered if it meant anything at all. The Galactic Conclave delegation had spent exactly 3 days on Earth, 3 days to judge a civilization that had spent thousands of years developing, 3 days to determine humanity's worth. They didn't even try to hide their contempt, said Captain Jin-Ho, who stood quietly beside her. No, Park replied, her voice steady despite the anger churning inside. They didn't. The meeting had been broadcast globally. 7 alien species, each more advanced than humanity, had arrived in ships that seemed to bend the laws of physics. The Valoth with their crystalline exoskeletons, the Nuor, whose bodies shifted and flowed like liquid metal, the bird-like Seraphim, whose wings sparkled with what looked like stars, and 4 others, each as strange and wondrous as the last. They had smiled, or what passed for smiles on their alien faces, as they examined human technology. They had chuckled at the primitive fusion engines. They had openly laughed at humanity's clumsy attempts at asteroid mining, and they had practically sneered at Earth's environmental restoration projects. Fossil fuels, the Valoth ambassador had said, his crystal face refracting light in patterns of amusement. You poisoned your world for centuries with the compressed remains of dead organisms. How quaint. Park's communicator beeped. The president of the United Earth government was calling an emergency meeting. She nodded to Captain Jin-Ho, and they left the viewport behind. The lunar shuttle was fast, but not as fast as Park would have liked. As they descended toward Earth, the blue planet grew larger in the view screen. Once, humans had looked up at the moon with wonder. Now they looked down at Earth from lunar bases, and still they were considered primitive. The trade agreements are terrible, Jin-Ho said, reading from his tablet. They're offering us technology that's centuries ahead of ours. But the price? Resources, Park finished for him. Always resources. The Conclave wanted Earth's oceans. Not all at once, of course, just the rights to extract certain minerals, certain biological specimens. Things humans wouldn't miss, they claimed. Things that were more valuable to advanced species. The shuttle landed in Singapore, home of the UEG headquarters. The city gleamed with towers of green-tinted glass and living architecture, plants and buildings growing together in harmony. Once, this had seemed like the pinnacle of human achievement. Now it looked like a child's building blocks compared to the Conclave's massive ships. President Su Min waited in the war room, though no one called it that anymore. Around the circular table sat the leaders of Earth's former nations, now unified under one government. A unification that had come too late to impress the aliens. Admiral Park. The president greeted her. Your assessment. Park didn't sugarcoat it. They see us as primitives ripe for exploitation. The technology they're offering is impressive but obsolete by their standards. And the resources they want. They specifically ask about deep ocean access, said General Tunwu, his weathered face grim. They're interested in our abyssal trenches. A silence fell over the room. Park exchanged glances with the president, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. They don't know, Park said quietly. And they won't, the president replied firmly. When the meeting ended, Park took a private elevator down, not just to ground level, but below it, down past the building's foundations, past the old subway tunnels, down to levels that officially didn't exist. The elevator opened to reveal a massive cavern carved from the bedrock beneath Singapore. Inside was a command center unlike anything above. While the surface world maintained its appearance of merely adequate technology, down here screens flickered with data streams so advanced they made the Conclave's gifts look primitive. Dr. Ta Woo Kim approached, his lab coat pristine despite having worked for 36 hours straight. They didn't find anything, he said, relief evident in his voice. No, Park confirmed. Their scans didn't penetrate deep enough. Arrogance, Kim said. They assumed we couldn't shield against their technology. Park nodded. Show me the latest. They walked through the massive underground complex to a viewing gallery. Below them stretched an enormous pool, but calling it a pool was like calling the ocean a puddle. It extended for kilometers in every direction, the far walls lost in the distance. Floating in the water was the UES Leviathan, the first of humanity's true warships. Nearly a kilometer long, its dark hull was crafted from materials no human scientist had publicly admitted to creating. Its propulsion system had never been announced to the world. Its weapons had never been tested where satellites might see. How many now? Park asked. 50 complete, Kim answered. Another 100 in various stages of production across the global network. The global network, 37 underwater bases built in secret over the past 50 years. While nations had squabbled publicly and space programs had made modest gains, the world's true resources had been poured into the depths. The Valoth ambassador mentioned how much of our planet is covered by water. Park said. He called it a waste. Kim smiled thinly. They evolved on desert worlds, most of them. Water is something to be managed, controlled. They don't understand. Below them, the Leviathan's lights flickered to life as a test sequence began. Its hull was designed not just for ocean depths but for space. It could launch directly from the water into orbit, an approach no conclave species had ever considered. When will they return? Kim asked. 6 months, Park replied. They expect us to have the resource agreements signed and ready. And we'll be ready too, Kim said, looking down at humanity's secret fleet. Park nodded, watching as the Leviathan moved silently through the water, a predator biding its time. They laughed at us, she said softly. Let them laugh for now. The ocean floor trembled as the massive boring machines carved through ancient bedrock. 20,000 feet beneath the Pacific Ocean's surface, in the shadowy realm where sunlight never reached, humanity had built its secret hope. Dr. Ta Woo Kim pressed his hand against the transparent dome of Poseidon Base's observation deck. The material, diamond-reinforced polymers that could withstand the crushing pressure of the deep, felt cool beneath his palm. Beyond it stretched an industrial marvel that few humans on the surface even suspected existed. Beautiful, isn't it? Asked Sun Hai, his chief operations officer. She had approached so quietly he hadn't heard her over the distant hum of the manufacturing plants. Every time I see it, Kim agreed. The underwater factory complex sprawled across the abyssal plain, illuminated by thousands of lights that gave the seafloor the appearance of a vast, sunken city. Assembly lines kilometers long produced components that were then transported to central construction base where the Trident vessels took shape. Ship 17 just passed its pressure tests, Sun Hai reported, handing him a tablet with the results. Diving to 30,000 feet and then straight to vacuum conditions. No structural stress detected. Kim nodded, studying the data. And the neutron fusion core. Stable at 115% capacity. Better than we hoped. Kim allowed himself a small smile. When he had first proposed the neutron fusion design 15 years ago, his colleagues had called it impossible. Now 17 ships carried functioning cores, each producing more energy than the entire world had consumed in the year 2050. A soft chime from the ceiling announced an incoming message. Dr. Kim, came the voice of Admiral Park. Are you available for an update? Yes, Admiral. I'm in Observation Dome 3 with Sun Hai. A holographic display shimmered into existence before them, showing Admiral Park in her lunar office. Despite being a 250,000 miles away, her image was crystal clear, another technology the public knew nothing about. The conclave delegation visited the lunar colony yesterday, Park said without preamble. They toured our fusion facilities and made it very clear they were unimpressed. Did they suspect anything? Kim asked. Park shook her head. They scanned everything, of course, but our decoy technology held up. They believe our fusion reactors are barely stable and criminally inefficient. Meanwhile, we're running at yields they think are theoretical, Sun Hai said with quiet pride. Admiral Park's expression remained serious. They're pushing harder for the ocean mining rights. The Valoth ambassadors specifically mentioned wanting access to the Mariana Trench. Kim and Sunhai exchanged worried glances. Poseidon Base's main hub was built into the wall of the Mariana Trench, hidden from surface scans by both natural geography and advanced shielding technology. Have they sent probes? Kim asked. Surface vessels only. Their arrogance works in our favor. They don't believe we could possibly have anything worth hiding down there. Sunhee gestured toward the viewport. Should we accelerate production? On the seafloor beyond the dome, workers in specialized deep-sea suits guided robotic arms assembling the hull of Ship 18. Other teams were attaching the distinctive wing structures that would enable the vessel to maneuver both underwater and in space, a dual-environment capability that no known conclave species had developed. Yes, Admiral Park decided. How quickly can you bring the remaining ships to completion? Kim consulted the tablet. With the new automated assembly systems online, we can have 30 more ready within 4 months. The full fleet of 106. Make it 5, Park said. The conclave is returning sooner than we thought. After the Admiral signed off, Kim and Sunhide took a transport pod through the underwater tunnel network that connected Poseidon's various facilities. Workers nodded respectfully as they passed. Everyone here understood the stakes. The pod emerged into the cavernous space of Construction Bay 3, where Ship 15, recently christened UES Leviathan, hung suspended in a massive water-filled chamber. Unlike traditional spacecraft built in dry docks, the Trident vessels were constructed entirely underwater, their systems designed to transition seamlessly between oceanic depths and the vacuum of space. I still remember when you first pitched this idea, Sunhai said, as they boarded the vessel through its airlock. Everyone thought you were crazy. Land-based species build land-based ships, Kim replied, repeating what had become something of a mantra among the Aquarian Initiative workers. They think like land dwellers. Inside, the Leviathan hummed with quiet efficiency. Crew members were running final system checks, preparing for its maiden voyage to the secondary base in the Indian Ocean. Captain Jae-hoon met them on the bridge. Dr. Kim. Director Sunhai. He greeted them. We're almost ready. Would you like to observe the core ignition? We would, Kim said. They followed the captain to the engine room, where the neutron fusion core, a sphere of swirling blue energy contained within interlocking magnetic fields, waited to be activated. Chief Engineer Yuna stood at the control console, her fingers dancing across the interface. Core temperature optimal, she reported. Containment fields at full strength. Ready on your command, Captain. Proceed, Jae-hoon said. Yuna initiated the ignition sequence. The blue sphere pulsed once, twice, then stabilized into a steady glow that illuminated the engine room with otherworldly light. Power output stable at 100%, Yuna announced. No radiation leakage. Core efficiency at 97%. Kim watched with quiet pride. What the conclave had deemed impossible, stable neutron fusion in a vessel this size, hummed before them, ready to power the ship across oceans or through space with equal ease. It's remarkable, Sunhai whispered. They have no idea what we've built down here. Kim nodded, thinking of the Valoth ambassador's condescending smile, the Nuor representative's dismissive gesture when shown Earth's public technology. They judged us by what we showed them, he said softly. Let them keep underestimating us. The ocean has kept our secrets safe, and soon it will launch our response. Outside the viewport, in the vast underwater construction bay, the silhouette of Ship 19 was taking shape, its hull curves designed to cut efficiently through both water and void. Beyond it, more vessels waited in various stages of completion, humanity's hidden armada, preparing to rise from the depths. The Grand Hall of the United Earth Council fell silent as the alien ambassador finished speaking. His scaled skin caught the light as he stepped back from the podium, multifaceted eyes surveying the human representatives with unmistakable disdain. President Hajun Lee maintained his composure, though his knuckles had turned white where he gripped the edge of his desk. 3 years had passed since humanity's first encounter with the Galactic Conclave. 3 years of carefully managed diplomacy, of showing just enough technological progress to seem advancing, but not threatening. 3 years of buying time. Ambassador Zextel, President Lee said, his voice steady. Your proposal requires careful consideration. Earth has maintained independent status among all worlds we've encountered. The tall alien made a sound that the translation devices rendered as laughter, though it held no warmth. Independent. Your species barely qualifies for sentient classification under conclave metrics. We've been generous in our patience. Beside the president, Defense Minister Ji-min tensed. She had advocated for a more aggressive stance from the beginning, but the council had overruled her, following Admiral Park's recommendation to wait until they were ready. The terms are simple, continued Zextol, his translator producing flawless Korean. Earth will become a protected resource world under Valoth supervision. Your people will retain limited self-governance in exchange for exclusive mining rights to your oceanic resources. On the screens around the council chamber, the proposed mining zones appeared in glowing red. They covered most of Earth's deep ocean trenches, including all 7 hidden bases of the Aquarian Initiative. And if we decline? Asked Minister Ji-min, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the assembled council. The ambassador's scales shifted color slightly, a ripple of amusement. Then we simply take what we need. Your orbital defenses are charming toys. Our mining fleet carries enough firepower to eliminate them as an afterthought. President Lee rose slowly from his seat. At 62, he carried himself with the dignity of a man who had unified formerly warring nations under a single government. We request 48 hours to consider your proposal and prepare our people. The ambassador made a dismissive gesture with 3-fingered hands. Granted. Though I fail to see what difference 2 planetary rotations will make. Our mining fleet has already entered your solar system and will arrive in exactly 48 of your hours. After the conclave delegation departed, President Lee called an emergency session in the secure bunker 5 levels beneath the council chamber. Only 12 people on Earth knew this room existed. They'd forced our hand, Defense Minister Ji-min said as soon as the secure doors sealed. Or played directly into it, replied President Lee. He activated the communication array embedded in the conference table. Admiral Park, are you receiving? The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Eun-Ji Park aboard the Lunar Command Station. Her uniform was different now, not the public-facing United Defense Force blue, but the black and silver of the Aquarian Initiative. I am, Mr. President. I've monitored the entire exchange. They're targeting our bases, Ji-min said. All of them. As we anticipated they might, Park replied calmly. The question is whether we're ready to reveal ourselves. President Lee looked around the table at the faces of Earth's true leadership, the men and women who had overseen the greatest secret in human history. Dr. Kim, what's our readiness status? The hologram shifted to show Dr. Ta-Woo Kim in the command center of Poseidon Base. Behind him, technicians moved with purpose between workstations. 87 vessels combat-ready, Mr. President. Another 23 at 90% completion. And the core technology? Asked Ji-min. Fully operational. Each ship carries enough firepower to match a conclave cruiser based on our observations of their visible weapons systems. President Lee nodded slowly. And our personnel? Crews have been training in rotation for the past 3 years, Admiral Park replied. They're ready. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the room. For 50 years, Earth had maintained its facade of moderate technological progress while pouring its true resources into the depths. The gamble had always been that they would have enough time to prepare before being forced to show their hand. The mining fleet, President Lee said. How large is it? 53 vessels, replied Intelligence Director Min Seo. Mostly automated, with minimal crews. Heavy mining equipment, moderate defensive capabilities. They're not expecting resistance. Because they believe there can be none, said Jae-min with a grim smile. President Lee walked to the window that looked out not onto real scenery, but a digital recreation of Seoul's skyline. The city had been rebuilt 3 times in the past century, after war, after climate disasters, after economic collapse. Humanity had always rebuilt, always survived. We knew this day would come, he said quietly. The question was never if, but when, and whether we would be ready. He turned back to face the others. Admiral Park, you have full operational authority. Initiate Poseidon's wrath. Park saluted crisply. Yes, Mr. President. The next 46 hours were a carefully orchestrated dance of preparation disguised as bureaucratic delay. While the Council publicly debated the conclave's terms, creating the impression of a divided humanity struggling with the decision, the real work happened beneath the waves. In the Mariana Trench, the massive hangar doors of Poseidon Base slid open for the first time since its completion. The UEA's Leviathan moved into position, followed by 16 other vessels of the First Strike Group. Similar scenes played out at bases hidden in the Puerto Rico Trench, the Java Trench, the South Sandwich Trench, and 3 other locations spread across Earth's oceans. Ships that had never surfaced, crewed by sailors who had trained in secret, powered by technology the conclave believed impossible for humans. Admiral Park transferred from the lunar station to her flagship, the UES Typhoon, hidden beneath the Arctic ice cap. From there, she would coordinate humanity's response. All vessels report ready, Admiral, her communications officer announced. Park studied the tactical display showing the approaching conclave mining fleet. 53 red dots moving confidently toward Earth, unaware they were heading into an ambush. Send final verification to all fleet commanders, Park ordered. Weapons hot, but no firing until my direct command. Yes, Admiral. Park thought of the conclave ambassador's contemptuous expression, his casual dismissal of humanity as little more than clever animals. She thought of 50 years of preparation, of sacrifice, of working in the darkness and depths while maintaining a facade of mediocrity. Commence Operation Poseidon's Wrath, she said, her voice carrying to bases across the planet. Rise and reveal. And beneath the waters of Earth's oceans, humanity's secret armada began to move. The orbital tracking station on Luna's far side reported the arrival of the conclave mining fleet with clinical precision. 53 vessels had emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly where predicted, their massive silhouettes blocking starlight as they positioned themselves in high Earth orbit. In the command center of the UES Typhoon, hidden beneath 3 kilometers of Arctic ice, Admiral Yoon-ji Park watched the feed with steely calm. Around her, the bridge crew worked in focused silence, each monitoring their stations with the discipline of people who had trained for this moment for years. Mining fleet has established standard orbit, reported Lieutenant Jin Soo. They're deploying survey drones toward the Pacific. Any response from the Council? Park asked. President Lee has sent the predetermined message, Communications Officer CO confirmed, requesting another 24 hours for deliberation. Park nodded. And their reply? Just came in, CO said, his expression hardening. The conclave fleet commander says, and I quote, "Your time has expired. Mining operations commence immediately. Resistance would be futile and suicidal." A murmur of anger rippled through the bridge. Park raised a hand for silence. They're right on schedule, she said. Arrogance makes them predictable. On the main display, red indicators showed the conclave vessels spreading out to cover Earth's major oceans. They were positioning themselves above the very trenches where humanity had built its secret bases. Fleet status, Park asked. All vessels report ready, Admiral, replied Commander Du Yun, her executive officer. Launch sequences loaded. Weapons hot. Park studied the tactical display one final time. 500 vessels waited beneath the waters, some in the massive hangars of the 7 main bases, others hidden in underwater canyons or beneath the polar ice. For decades, Humanity had worked in secret, building a force that could stand against the galaxy's arrogant powers. "Begin launch countdown," Park ordered. "Synchronize across all fleets. Execute in 3 minutes." The command rippled across secure channels to every hidden base, every underwater hangar, every concealed deployment site. In command centers beneath the waves, officers relayed the order to their crews. Engines powered up, weapon systems came online, and launch systems prepared to propel the massive vessels from water to air in seconds. Aboard the Typhoon, Park opened a channel to all human vessels. "This is Admiral Park. For 50 years, we have prepared for this day. We have worked in silence and secrecy while the galaxy's powers look down on us. Today, we show them the truth of humanity's ingenuity. Today, we claim our place among the stars not as servants, but as equals." She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew, men and women who had trained their entire adult lives for this moment. "Remember your training. Execute with precision, and remember what we fight for. Not conquest, not domination, but the right to determine our own future. Launch in 60 seconds. Above, in Earth orbit, the Conclave mining ships began deploying their extraction equipment. Massive drills extended from their undersides, designed to be lowered through the atmosphere to pierce the ocean floor. Their sensors swept Earth's surface, detecting only the expected human settlements and technology. They did not look deeper. They did not think to search the ocean trenches with anything more than standard scans. Why would they? Humans were primitive surface dwellers who had barely mastered basic spaceflight. "Launch in 5, Park said calmly. 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute." Across Earth's oceans, the water began to churn. In the Mariana Trench, the massive hangar doors of Poseidon Base slid fully open for the first time, revealing a row of sleek, deadly vessels unlike anything seen on Earth's surface. They rose in perfect formation, gathering speed as they approached the surface. Similar scenes played out in 6 other locations, from the Puerto Rico Trench, from the Java Trench, from the South Sandwich Trench, from the Arctic and Antarctic depths. Humanity's hidden fleet emerged. Water exploded skyward in synchronized geysers across the planet. The sleek vessels of the Trident Armada, their hulls designed for both oceanic pressure and the vacuum of space, shot into the air trailing plumes of sea spray. Their engines, powered by neutron fusion cores that the Conclave had deemed impossible for human engineering, flared with blue-white energy as they accelerated upward. On the Conclave command ship, alarms suddenly blared. Sensors that had been focused on mineral deposits now registered hundreds of unknown vessels rising from Earth's oceans at impossible speeds. "Commander," cried a sensor officer, multiple contacts emerging from the planet's surface. Commander Nexvold rushed to the display, his scales shifting from confident blue to alarmed orange. "Impossible," he hissed. "These readings must be malfunctioning." But the readings weren't wrong. 500 human vessels, each heavily armed, each powered by technology the Conclave had believed beyond human capability, streaked upward through the atmosphere. Within minutes, the first wave reached orbit. The Trident vessels moved with surprising grace, their formations precise as they began to encircle the scattered mining fleet. Admiral Park's voice cut across all communication channels, broadcasting on frequencies the Conclave used. "This is Admiral Ian G. Park of the United Earth Fleet. Your mining operation is canceled. Withdraw immediately or be removed." On the Conclave command ship, Commander Nexvold stared at the human vessels in disbelief. Their design was unlike anything he had seen before. Not copies of Conclave technology, but something entirely different. Something born of an oceanic species rather than land dwellers. "This is Commander Nexvold of the Galactic Conclave," he responded, his translator struggling to keep the shock from his voice. "These threats are meaningless. Your primitive vessels cannot." His words died as the tactical display updated. The human fleet had executed a perfect encirclement maneuver, surrounding his mining ships in 3-dimensional space with a precision that even conclave military vessels would struggle to match. "Impossible," he whispered. "Your species couldn't." 3 mining vessels, captained by younger and more aggressive Veloth, attempted to power up their weapon systems. Before they could target a single human ship, precision electromagnetic pulses hit them from 3 directions simultaneously. Their systems went dark, the vessels drifting powerless in orbit. Commander Nexville watched in growing horror as his fleet, dispatched with minimal defenses because no resistance was expected, found itself surrounded, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. Admiral Park's voice came again, calm and measured. "Your vessels are surrounded. 3 of your ships have already been disabled without casualties. We can disable the rest just as easily. This is your final warning. Withdraw from Earth orbit immediately or face the consequences of your aggression." On the bridge of the Typhoon, Park watched as the conclave ships hung motionless, caught in humanity's trap. Around her, her crew maintained their discipline, though she could see the pride in their eyes. "Admiral," said Commander Du Yun quietly, "the conclave command ship is requesting a direct channel to you." Park nodded. "Put it through." The face that appeared on her screen was reptilian, with shifting scales and multifaceted eyes. Commander Nexville looked nothing like the confident alien who had threatened Earth days before. Now, confusion and fear were evident even across species barriers. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you conceal this?" Admiral Park allowed herself a small smile. "You looked down on us from above, Commander. You never thought to look beneath the surface." The UES Leviathan hung in low Earth orbit, sunlight gleaming off its dark hull. Unlike traditional spacecraft, its curves and contours spoke of its dual nature, a vessel designed to move through water as easily as vacuum. Now it served as humanity's chosen meeting ground with the Galactic Conclave's highest authorities. Inside the ship's grand conference chamber, President He Jun-Lee sat calmly at the head of the table. Around him stood members of Earth's Defense Council and the chief architects of the Aquarian Initiative. Across from them, 7 alien representatives, one from each conclave species, shifted uncomfortably in seats designed for human anatomy. The Supreme Counselor of the Conclave, a tall Veloth, whose crystalline exoskeleton shimmered with colors that indicated stress, leaned forward. "You deceived us," he said, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into Korean. "For 3 years, you maintained the appearance of a primitive species while building this." His arms swept wide to indicate the ship around them. "We concealed our capabilities," President Lee corrected gently, "just as you concealed yours during first contact. Your survey vessels carried weapons that could have destroyed our cities, yet you spoke only of peace." The alien leader's colors shifted to deep blue. Embarrassment, the human delegates had learned. Dr. Ta Woo Kim, seated to the president's right, activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed Earth, with glowing points indicating the 7 major underwater bases. "While your kind evolved on dry worlds, we developed on a planet mostly covered by water," Kim explained. "When we began thinking about defense, we naturally looked to the oceans. They provided both resources and secrecy." The Seraphim representative, a bird-like being with feathers that contained points of light like embedded stars, tilted her head. "But the technology. The neutron fusion drives alone are beyond what we believed possible at your development stage." Admiral Ian G. Park smiled slightly. "You judged our capabilities by our visible technology. A mistake we learned not to make when studying yours." The aliens exchanged glances. The meaning was clear. Humans had been watching and learning from the Conclave far more carefully than the Conclave had studied humans. "We came to your world offering technological scraps," said the newer representative, his metallic body flowing like liquid mercury as he spoke, "while you had already developed innovations we have yet to master." President Lee nodded. "Which brings us to the reason for this meeting. The previous arrangement is no longer acceptable to Earth. We propose a new one." He gestured, and Minister Ji-Min activated another holographic display. This one showed a treaty document, with text in multiple languages including those of the conclave species. The Treaty of Earth, President Lee explained, establishing humanity's status as equals in the galactic community, with full rights of trade, travel, and diplomacy. The Supreme Councilor's colors shifted rapidly. This is unprecedented. You were to be a resource world, a protectorate at best. Those terms have been rejected, Admiral Park said firmly. As demonstrated by our response to your mining fleet, the alien leader's compound eyes fixed on her. You could have destroyed our vessels, yet you disabled only 3 and caused no casualties. We are not conquerors, President Lee said. We seek partnership, not domination, but we will not be subjugated. The room fell silent as the conclave representatives conferred among themselves in their own languages. Finally, the Supreme Councilor's colors settled into a calmer pattern. Your underwater strategy was clever, he admitted. None of our species evolved with such an affinity for water. It did not occur to us to look beneath your oceans. Different environments breed different kinds of innovation, Dr. Kim said. Perhaps we have technologies to share, and you have knowledge we lack. The Seraphim representative trilled softly. Your hydroengineering, could it be adapted for gas giants? Many of our mining operations struggle with high-pressure environments. I believe so, Kim replied. With some modifications. The tension in the room gradually eased as the conversation turned technical. Engineers from both sides began discussing possibilities, finding common ground in the universal language of science. Hours later, the Treaty of Earth was signed. The conclave agreed to recognize humanity as a sovereign and equal member of the galactic community. Trade agreements were established that benefited both sides. Most importantly, Earth's right to maintain its defensive fleet was acknowledged without reservation. As the conclave representatives prepared to depart, escorted by human diplomats, the Supreme Councilor paused before President Lee. We have existed for thousands of years, the alien said. In that time, we have encountered many species, but none quite like yours. You may have much to teach us. President Lee bowed slightly. And we have much to learn. That is the foundation of true partnership. After the aliens departed, Admiral Park and Dr. Kim stood together on the Leviathan's observation deck. Below them, Earth turned slowly, its blue oceans covering most of its surface. Did you ever think, when we started this 50 years ago, that it would end like this? Kim asked. Park shook her head. I hoped we would never need to reveal ourselves, that the conclave would see us as partners without the need for a show of force. They couldn't see past their assumptions, Kim said. They looked at our planet and saw only what they expected to see. They laughed at us, Park said softly, remembering the dismissive gestures of the conclave ambassadors 3 years earlier. They laughed because they never thought to look beneath the surface. Kim smiled, watching as Earth's oceans caught the sunlight. Perhaps that's humanity's gift to the galaxy, teaching them to look deeper. On the bridge below them, the crew of the Leviathan prepared for the return journey to Poseidon Base. The ship would descend not to a land-based spaceport, but directly into the Pacific Ocean, diving beneath the waves to the hidden world that had saved humanity from subjugation. Other vessels of the Trident fleet remained in orbit, a visible reminder of Earth's new status in the galactic order. No longer primitive, no longer dismissed, humanity had earned its place among the stars. And it had done so not by mimicking the path of other species, but by embracing its unique connection to the oceans that had cradled life on Earth since its beginning. Where others sought a barrier, humanity had found a shield. Where others saw a wasteland, humanity had built its future. We have much work to do, Admiral Park said finally. The treaty is just the beginning. Yes, agreed Kim. But for today we can celebrate. The oceans kept our secrets. Now they'll help build our future among the stars. Below them, Earth turned on, most of its surface blue and shining. The cradle of humanity, and the unexpected key to its place in the galaxy. The end.